have gone through all kinds of checks and balances to make sure that things are not going to wrong destinations. So really, it depends on the perception out there. A lot of people don't know these processes, so they just think that there are a lot of delay stations in the way things are done in the public service, in the civil service, but they are a necessary delay so that you avoid all kinds of accusations and so on and so forth.
All right.
So these are necessary delays, if I may put it that way. Yeah.
So you have no issues with the so-called red tape that,
No,
that many attach to the civil service?
Certainly, I have no issues about that, because these are necessary steps that have to be taken. But of course, there are certain delays that may happen, and this is a human nature, maybe. But those are rare things, really.
Right.
Yeah, those are rare things.
Again, we've had some sections of society complain about the efficiency of the civil service, and I could be wrong, but sometimes it gets to appear like some sections of society again have lost confidence in the civil service, and when you hear that President Hakainde Hichilema is about to swear in some individuals to serve with those portfolios, you're just thinking that they have a very huge task ahead of them to win back the confidence from members of the public. What kind of people do you need for that to happen?
First and foremost, I think a human being is the most critical asset that any country can have. And so even when you talk about the development trajectory, the human being has to be at the center of that for that to happen. And so the decision as to who should be there is very critical, because you have to have people who have the minimum requirements to make things move, to make things happen. So if your selection of those individuals is in contrast with what is expected, then you generate certain reactions from the people. But the people that have to be selected should be such that they have what it takes to do certain things that you've put together to move this country forward. So, but you can't avoid these innuendos where people say, no, not that one, but that one. No, but give them space, give them time. They will articulate, they will do certain things, and the results should show. Yeah, so to prejudge people on account of who has been appointed, who has not been appointed, I think it's not fair. Let's wait and see until we see what deliverables they are able to offer.
All right. Having served in the civil service for over 40 years or so, and I think you're the right person to give us, a picture, so to speak, of what transpires when there's a change of government in the civil service. In terms of you're so uncertain about your space, so to speak. Just paint for us what happens really in the civil service when there's a change of government, and when you hear that anytime soon there'll be new PS coming. What happens?
Yeah. So okay, I started work in 1980, like I said, yes. And that was during the UNIP era, and it was one-party state, so there was no competition. When it came to electioneering and so on and so forth, there was no competition as such. So in terms of selection of individuals, there was no partisanship that was connected to the selection of people that should serve in the system. It was just Zambians. But come 1991, we had a new dispensation altogether. Politics became very competitive, highly competitive, and so you have all kinds of people that go into trenches with you, and they don't go into those trenches for nothing. so to speak.
Yeah.
There's something that they expect. Once you have won the election, what is it that they expect? There aren't many job opportunities in this country. So people expect that you get the appointment in the civil service or public sector. And so, but it becomes very, very difficult for the authorities, the leaders to ignore. It's very difficult for leaders to ignore those people that were in the trenches with them. But what is critical, again, is what kind of individual? Because not everybody, really, not everybody can be in a ministry without the requisite qualifications, because they have to help you as a leader to achieve your goals. What is it that you want? Because like I was saying, the human being is the most critical element in any development agenda. So what kind of individuals should you have? They can be politicians. It's okay. To me, it doesn't matter, as long as they have the minimum requirement to deliver to the people's expectation. To me, that is the bottom line.
All right. Well, I'll ask you your thought, because it's top of the hour, 14 hours here on ZNBC TV1. Time for the headlines. We continue this conversation as we build up to the swearing-in, ceremony that will be coming through from State House. The head of state, obviously, will be running us through that, event. In my company right now is Mishek Mwanza, retired diplomat and civil servant, and we're simply just chatting around these appointments, what these appointments mean to the country, to the civil service. What kind of individuals does the civil service demand for right now? A civil service that we here had, some, shreds of tribalism and things of that sort, and there was some, frustration to that effect. That is coming up shortly. Stay with us.
It is day 6 of the commemoration of the African Decentralization in Local Government Week. Secretary to Cabinet is at Lusaka City Council to check on how capable the local authority is for the decentralization program. Here, he toured the 7 departments for the local authority.
The councils must be up to the game with the changes that we are making. But with this visit today, I am very, very confident that councils will be able to handle most of the things that are coming their way with support from central government.
Lusaka Mayor Chilando Chitangala says council will be transparent in its implementation of the decentralization program.
It's very important for us because now all what we've always wanted is to go and work with the people straight, right down to the local level, and this is what the government has done. They've supported us.
Part of this commemoration is appreciating art, culture and heritage. Earlier, Cabinet Office Management Development Division Permanent Secretary Katongo Chifwepa toured Chilenja House in Kawata Culture Village to appreciate their contribution to the country's tourism.
So what we've seen, I think heritage is very important for us to know where we are coming from.
Director Culture and Tradition Affairs highlights some of the challenges.
It's still not as good as it used to be, but we are thinking that it will be important for us to, sell things online, because I think COVID has taught us a lot of things instead of just waiting for the tourists to come through.
The commemoration of the Africa Decentralization Day has been themed the contribution of arts, culture and heritage to the sustainable development of African cities and territories.
They have filled the skies of Kasama district in northern province. These are birds which have started migrating into the northern region. Bat migration, which takes place between November and December, is famous in Kasanka National Park in Serenje district. This year, Kasama district has received millions of bats from unknown destination, and this has cheered the Ministry of Tourism in the region.
If the bats, as we see it now, are able to extend their route to Kasama or northern province, this will make the tourists also stay a little bit more longer, so they will extend their stay. And what that means is they are going to spend So we experience the revenue boost on the lodges, as well as it will trigger economic activities on the value chain along the Northern Security Corridor.
Kasama residents are happy that the bat migration has extended into the northern province.
We don't know where they come from or how they go, maybe because of the season, I don't know. When the line comes, that's when they reach us. I don't know how their movement is. Actually, the fact is we are seeing them regularly now.
Mr. Chwela has also advised Kasama residents not to disturb the bats. Reporting for Zanis in Kasama, I'm Jafet Munkondia.
Germany has recorded more than 100,000 deaths from COVID-19. Latest figures show more than 75,000 new infections in the past day. Germany is battling a fresh surge in new cases and has stepped up restrictions this week to slow the spread of the virus. A boat carrying people trying to reach the UK has sunk off the coast of France. At least 27 people have died. Witnesses say several small boats left from Calais on Wednesday heading to the UK. French authorities say this is one of the deadliest days on record for crossing the English Channel. A jury in the U.S. state of Georgia has found 3 white men guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery in February of last year. The unarmed black man was out for a jog in a mostly white neighborhood when Gregory McMichael, his son Travis and William Bryan chased Arbery in vehicles and fatally shot him.
First verdict form.
Thank you very much for staying with us. That was the news at 14 hours here on ZNBC TV1. We're still, standing by for the swearing-in ceremony that, will be coming through live on ZNBC TV1. Our, crew is already stationed, waiting for the, president to, run us through the, the event at State House. So you do want to stay with us. In the meantime, I'm in the company of Mishek Mwanza, retired diplomat and civil servant. And before we went for that break, really, we're about to get into looking at the state of the civil service. It's in a place where there's it is believed that there's lots of, well, maybe now it's a different picture, but we've heard that it's a service that requires smart interventions, because we heard of people expressing their frustration. People were dismissed on unfair grounds and things of that sort, and the president did mention that he wants to work on that. And these are allegations we must emphasize. They're not proven, but these were the allegations that were coming to the fore. When you hear such kind of things as a former civil servant, what comes to your mind?
What comes to mind is we have lost it. We have to regain our One Zambia, One Nation motto. We had lost it. It shouldn't be like that. We are all Zambians, and we all aspire to move this country forward. We want to move this country to another level. And it doesn't matter whom you put in place to help move this country forward. They may come from wherever, doesn't matter where. But as long as they have what it takes to help move this country forward. I have been all over this country, and I know that there's no part of this country that has got no resources in terms of human beings, in terms of natural resources, both underground and on the surface. I know. So all we need is to garner all our energies, put our energies together to tap into what we have. So it doesn't matter who comes from where, as long as they have what it takes to help this country move forward. to me it doesn't matter. You can come from Shango, you can come, as long as you have what it takes to move this country forward. We have resources everywhere. And this country is waiting for those resources to be exploited to the benefit of this country. So, where are the people? They are everywhere. If you cast the net widely, you will find them. They are there. So this thing of saying, no, this one, because they come from where, and you take them out of the system, no, that shouldn't be. This is 21st century. We need every Zambian who has what it takes to move this country forward.
All right. When you talk about the fact that we need people who deserve, to work, and deserve those jobs, to be given the opportunity, because there's so much that we need to get from this country. You mentioned about the resources that we have as a country, huge. We're still talking about potential, even if we should be moving on from that narrative. But still, looking at the state of the civil service, and when we hear that certain people were dismissed, for instance, on tribal, grounds, and political, grounds, and somebody's expecting, look, you belong to political party A and you're dismissed and things of that sort. And when you reinstate those people, yes, they're happy, but the danger that is there is that, you're almost thinking you're going to have a very toxic environment, because those who are coming back to revenge, so to speak. and when you're a PS of such kind of a civil service, you're the chief executive, so to speak, of such a civil service. How do you get rid of this toxic environment? How do you neutralize it?
First, I think that's why we have got these hierarchical orders. And the apex of all this is the Secretary to Cabinet. I think that there are rules and regulations. You cannot just bring your anger, because whom are you angry with? It's not those people you have found. They are not the ones who removed you in the first place. It's the political establishment at that time. So you are bringing this toxicity in the system for what? To achieve what? Because the people that you find there did not play any part in taking you out. Just find a way of working along, working together. You remove this issue of antagonism, because they were not there and they may not even know the reasons why you were taken out in the first place. So this is the best thing that, although of course, when someone is removed, there's no vacuum that is created. You see? When those people are removed, obviously there was someone who took charge of that portfolio. So what do you do when you bring them back, when you bring those? And I think these are issues that have to be. Are you going to fire other people for no apparent reason, or to create space for those that had been removed? So these are problems. And these problems are also the same for diplomats who are recalled. Because you were posted and the position you held at home was taken up by somebody else. Okay? So when you are brought back, are you going to take out that person who has taken over your position? This is the problem, and it's an audit query. Minister of Foreign will not know how to deal with this kind of thing, because it's not their problem. It wasn't their problem as such. They did not create that problem. But you have people, they are on the payroll because they are civil servants, but you can't find a place for them, because the places they left when they were being posted were taken up by some other people. So what would have worked well would be a rotational arrangement. Someone goes, another person comes back to take over that position, and so on and so on. You go. There has to be a position where someone should go and fit in after being recalled. Not the way it is now. People who remain outside the system but continue to be on the payroll. That should not happen. So I'm just posing a question.
Yeah.
How have they dealt with the issue of someone having been fired, and which means their portfolio was taken up by somebody else? So that person has been reinstated. So how is it being dealt with? I don't know. I don't know.
What would you recommend? I mean, having served the civil service for over 40 years, you have got some understanding of how best to iron out things in that regard, where to touch. You obviously, and I know it's been a while since you were in the civil service, but what would you recommend? You know, from the experience you've amassed and the interactions you've had with those in the civil service.
Yeah. Let's nip the devil in the bud. You know, it happened.
Yeah.
It should never happen again. It has happened, and I don't know how this is being dealt with. To be true, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know how it is being handled, because, like I was explaining, and I wouldn't know how to handle such a situation. Where do you find placement? Where are the gaps where you can put people that were fired maybe 5-10 years ago? Where do you put them? Because there is someone who is already performing the functions of your position. So how do you, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I don't have an answer to that. Creation of new ministries, that doesn't answer the issue, because you are blowing the budget anyway, by creation of new ministries, of course. I mean, but it's a problem. You know, I know that even in some parastatals there were such things.
Yeah.
Even in some parastatals, but I've heard that some people are being brought back.
All right.
So I don't know how they're handling that, because if you are going back to your old position, what happens to the person who was promoted to that position? What happens?
All right.
Are you going to just expand the thing because you have to accommodate everybody? I don't know.
How important is consultation, you know, for the soon to be, you know, sworn in MPs, permanent secretaries, and those who've been sworn in already, and just the entire government? How important is consultation in this regard in trying to clean up the civil service?
Well, first and foremost, I think I am happy to know that there are certain names that I know. There are certain persons that have been brought back into the system, and they are permanent secretaries. So I'm very happy, and they know how the system works. So in terms of consultation, I mean, every ministry has its own line of business. And there are officers that are there on the ground. And the new permanent secretaries, some of them may not have a clear understanding of the portfolios of those ministries. So there are these officers, one may say the juniors, they have the information. They have what it takes to run a ministry. You humble yourself if you are not familiar with the portfolio, that particular. You humble yourself and develop that sense of consultation. You know, just humble yourself. Don't get in there and start thinking you know it all. Humble yourself, ask questions. You get to learn a lot from even the junior most persons. So that's the way I look at it. And of course, there are all kinds of manuals that are produced by Cabinet Office from time to time. Those will guide them on how to go about this. And I believe also that the office of the Secretary to Cabinet should be available to assist the new permanent secretaries that are not really coming from the civil service as such, to settle down and to really understand their mandate in those respective ministries. But most importantly, there are those officers who have been there. They have gone through the mill. They understand the environment in which they are. So those need to be consulted. Those need to fill you in, to settle you down. Don't get in there, you start feeling as if you know it all. No, you don't know it all. Humble yourself, get to know what is going on in that ministry. You will not go wrong. Yeah. Because really we have to live with what has been going on since 1991, when the political space became very competitive. So you will be getting people from outside the portfolios, outside the system, and those people may not necessarily know what is the nitty-gritty of any given ministry. So, but humbling oneself is very critical, because the officers there may be junior, but they know what it is.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to humble yourself, when you have this position. But also there are those who are already in the civil service, who are perhaps eyeing that portfolio. They were eyeing the PS portfolio, and then you bring somebody who's outside the system. So some may try and frustrate you as you get into that job. How do you deal with this kind of situation as a new PS, in the ministry?
I know there will be such feelings among some of the officers. But to be honest, I think we are all doing these things for Mother Zambia. But of course, I mean, it is human to expect a recognition, but when it doesn't come, it doesn't mean that's the end of the road. Because to be honest, I think for me, a promotion is a personal decision you make. If you have to be recognized, it's a personal decision. Your elevation to any position is not the responsibility of anybody else other than you yourself. By way of performance, your own performance will elevate you. There will be recognition for you, because this is the way I was brought up. Work to your senior person. Settle them down. Give them all it takes for them to settle down. Let them feel comfortable working with you. And they will, whenever there's an opening anywhere, they will recommend you for sure. So this is the way it works as far as I'm concerned. If you want to be recognized, just concentrate on your desk. Work around your desk. Make sure you perform. Make sure you deliver. That's all. Nothing else. Don't try to undermine your boss. Never. It will not help you.
Yeah.
It will not help you.
but you, as the new boss, how do you get to trigger that support from your subordinates, from your directors as a PS? How do you get that support? What should you do for you to win the directors over to your side?
That's what I was saying. That you humble yourself. You don't know this terrain in which you are. You humble yourself. Be nice to the people. They will be nice to you too. Don't go there with all kinds of wings and so on. They will detach themselves from you. Bring them closer. Work with them. Consult them. And that way you find it very nice to work with people. People will find it very nice to work with you. That's the way it is. They should always look forward to working with you. You don't know it all. So work with people. That's what will make you settle in a job.
All right.
You come from outside, you don't know anything. You've just heard, maybe you've got fancy ideas about anything. But the reality on the ground is what the people you find there will be telling you. And listen to them. You don't know it all. That's the way I look at these things. Humble yourself. Because we are all working towards developing this country. That's the agenda.
All right.
Not looking at who is who around me. No. Garner everything. Put everything together. Work with everything that is around you. We will move this country forward. Because I liken this to a lion in the wild. When the lions are chasing an animal, they're working together. If they start fighting among themselves, they will lose the animal. The animal will run away and they will remain hungry. So they work together to make sure that they have that meat. That's the attitude our new appointees have to have. Work with everybody together. Work as a team. You don't know it. I want to repeat. You don't know.
You have emphasized that point. And another point I'd like to talk about is the issue of passion later on, of course, after our next item, because again we've heard assumptions, allegations that the amount of passion in the civil service continues to dwindle by the day. We've had such kind of people, such kind of submissions from various sections who say, look, the levels of passion in the civil service are very low. Again, I'm going to ask you a question after this next item on how you can trigger the passion from your workforce. How can we trigger passion from the civil service? That question will be coming up after our next item. Just in case you missed out on the broadcast that we did bring to your screens last week when the president was swearing in the first batch of permanent secretaries and other portfolios. Let's just remind you of that day and just freshen up your mind with regards to who got sworn in last week.
We cannot do it alone, on our own, with the Vice President. We do it with the ministers. We do it with you who have been appointed or sworn in today. So I wish to draw that linkage so that every day we go to the office, every day we are challenged by issues in the office, we must remember that it is the people that we are serving, not ourselves. It's clear what was happening in the last 10 years, that colleagues, many, not all, but many, were serving themselves first before the people. We will reverse that role. We serve the people first before self. Servant leadership. Madam Vice President, it is important that you and I continue ramming that point home to all of us that are called upon to serve the people.
That was last week when the president did swear in the first batch of permanent secretaries last week. During that event, with obviously the president throwing a challenge to the sworn in permanent secretaries to ensure that they serve the country first, at the expense of their personal interests. Before we went for that clip, I brought in the aspect of passion. But before we get to that issue, I'd like you to react to what the president said when he was addressing those who were sworn in on, last week?
Actually, we are in a hurry to develop this country. I mean, we are not supposed to be where we are. Mm-hmm. We are supposed to be at another level. So really, the message that the president has given is critical. These people must always remember. The people that have been sworn in must always remember and bear in mind that they are there in trust. They are there in those positions in trust. We Zambians have given that trust to them that they move this country forward. We have not put them there for their own sake. They are there to help in moving this country forward. And we are all looking forward to that. That they'll be working in a way that is aiming at nothing but taking this country to another level. We deserve better. And we believe, it is my belief, that the people that have been selected to serve in these positions have what it takes to move this country forward. And in order to appease themselves, not to amass wealth for themselves, like what we hear was happening in the past. What we hear, not that I know, but they were there to amass wealth for themselves. We want to create an environment where every Zambian will be happy, where every Zambian will feel saved, where every Zambian will be enjoying the fruits of independence. And that's the message I take from His Excellency, the President. Mm-hmm. And we believe we can do it.
It calls for mindset change, doesn't it?
Exactly.
On the part of the civil servants. But again, what deliberate interventions would you propose? Should be put in place to change the mindset of some civil servants who come for work, for instance, at 10 o'clock when they're supposed to be in the office at 8, or 7, if you like. We all know that, we've heard of complaints from some citizens who say, look, I went to this office, I've been, expecting to receive this service for a long time, and I've been going there week in, week out. I just find the jacket hanging on the chair. The owner of the office has gone to do that personal stuff. How do you change that mindset?
I think, in my view, because we are dealing with people that may not have come from the civil service per se, Cabinet Office should make it a policy to organize some orientation programs from time to time.
All right.
You can have scheduled programs maybe once in every whatever period, so that people are reminded of the mandate they are carrying, the instruction that has come from the head of state, and so on and so forth. We need to start changing that situation where when people are in their offices, they think that's it, and they do things in a certain way, and they forget about the instruction that has been given to them, or the responsibility that has been given to them. So it's important that actually they are being reoriented from time to time. That is my view. So Cabinet should take it up, have a program of reorienting these newly appointed permanent secretaries. It can be once in every whatever period that has to be decided. Because people start feeling comfortable, or they become comfortable in their offices after a period of time. But a reminder is innocuous, just to remind them of their mandate, to remind them why they are there. That is my view. Because I don't see any other way of getting people to... And, really to take time for people to start realizing that actually they are there to help this country move forward, and they have to keep this in mind. They are there to help this country move forward. They are not there just for a job, but that job should be translated in things that we Zambians are expecting. We bequeathed that responsibility to them as Zambians, so that they do certain things for us.
I mean, humanly speaking, there's always sometimes the temptation to amass wealth may suppress the hunger to serve the country. How do you deal with that situation? How do you suppress the desire to amass wealth to satisfy personal interest, just so you can advance, serving the country first?
Yeah.
How do you overcome that temptation? I mean, sometimes it's going to be very huge. It's easy to say it right now and say, look, go out there and serve the country. But humanly speaking, how do you suppress that?
To be honest, I don't know how people make use of their offices to amass wealth. I'm not too sure how it is done. But as you say, this is, the smart people have become, I don't know how it is done for individuals to amass wealth, and but, let me just take you back to the Kaunda days. He had a system of information gathering. I believe that in every public institution, he had eyes and ears. Yeah? He had eyes and ears. And there were people who were able to gather information as to what was happening and feed into the system. They were there. So if anything wrong was happening, you'll be surprised KK will get it.
Yeah.
And people were fired just instantly. No, because when you fire someone in these public offices, you don't have to tell them why you have been fired. You just fire them. But they themselves will know why they have been fired. Because if you say, no, we have fired you because of ABCD, you say, no, it's because of what? No. So that's how KK managed. There was no nonsense. He didn't tolerate anything. You have to subscribe to the leadership code. There was a leadership code, there was there was this leadership code. You had to subscribe to that. Departure from there, any departure from there, you are out. We have relaxed. Like I was saying, I don't know. Maybe people have become smarter than we were. I don't know how they make money. Well, using their offices.
The president did mention that some prices of goods and services were inflated.
That could be.
and the president has always, from the time he assumed power, he was saying, look, for instance, this pen, which should cost, if as an individual, if I go to the store to buy this pen, it will cost me, for argument's sake, 10 kwacha. But when I'm supplying to government, this pen, I'll put it at 100 kwacha.
That's all of it.
And it's not really me. Well, I could be obviously playing a hand as a supplier, but there's somebody also in government who's orchestrating this whole trade, so to speak. But that itself is corruption and robbing the country of resources. And again, really, how do you suppress this? Because I mean, you want to, once you retire, you want to, to have amassed wealth, But how do you suppress that need, which sometimes, or more often than not, in fact, every time, is at the expense of the country, at the expense of a young boy in the village who needs free education, who needs chalk in class, who needs a decent desk, decent infrastructure.
Yeah, actually, I listened to the president's statement. It's unfortunate we have people like that. But of course, I think now you have reminded me. Probably that's the way this stealing comes in. And even the former president had actually pointed out this issue. That projects here in Zambia are overpriced. Public projects, public works are overpriced. And he didn't know why it was like that. But of course, you have systems, you have institutions that have been created to help with sniffing around what is going on. Because you can't just sit back and say, oh no, public works are overpriced. And then you do nothing.
And they're overpriced and the quality is poor as well.
Exactly, exactly. So what is it that you do? Because, yeah, things have been overpriced, so what next? Do you just sit back and say, oh, it's okay, things are overpriced? Is that the way to go? That's why you started getting this speculation. Oh, no, they were involved. They were all involved. Yeah? Because why is it that there's no action taken? People expect action. If such things are happening, we expect action to be taken. But how many people did we see being caged because of all this overpricing of things? And even we had projects that we hear were paid for in advance, and the project was abandoned. The contractor abandoned the project. How? First, government does not pay a contractor upfront in advance. They don't do that. They pay in stages. So how is it that projects were paid for in advance and then the contractor abandoned the project and nobody gets arrested? How was it? Of course, it was public news that some projects were abandoned after the contractor was paid in full. There were such stories. But we didn't hear anybody having been caged for this. Because clearly that was theft. And how the money was shared, we don't know. So I think we need to have that trust and fund these institutions that are supposed to help us to fight this cage. There's FIC, there's Auditor General, there's anti-corruption, DEC also, money laundering thing, and so on. These institutions must be strengthened.
Right.
So that they really do what they are supposed to do. Not the way it was in the past. FIC produces a report. The cadres are only on the director of FIC. That's what was happening. They want her blood because she has reviewed some issues. So what? And then you do nothing? No, come on. No, but we expect
You expect some difference in this.
Some difference in the new dispensation, the new Dawn administration. We want to see our money being put to good use. It's painful to see that actually people are getting rich out of our back pocket. Our money, taxpayers' money. They are enriching themselves. Look, if people are enriching themselves because they save smartly, from their salaries, they are able to, salaries and allowances, they are able to do whatever they, well and good. But if they are doing things through all these overpricing things and so on, and you are not caging them, surely we should send a strong message. Cage them. Let them rot. Let them rot in jail.
Has the president's tone, set the standards in terms of what he expects to get from the people he's appointing? When you hear him talk after, swearing in some individuals at various to serve at various levels or portfolios in government, do you sense a tone that sets the standards, for the manner in which that these individuals, these Zambians, must conduct themselves in these positions?
I think so. I think so. It's up to the people that have been appointed to make sure that they do what the president is expecting us to do, expecting them to do. And indeed, all of us expect the best out of them. He has set the tone. But we'll see what because these people can renew themselves. Start doing things, in this computer generation of ours. It has come with all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
people regenerate themselves. they become smarter than the other people. They will say, I know they didn't know how to circumvent this. But we have to be on the lookout. We have to be on the lookout. That money that is being squandered could be used on things that will benefit every Zambian. You know?
When such appointments are made, there's always the temptation to serve the political party at the expense of government. How do you distinguish? I mean, when you're appointed as PS, for instance, how do you draw the line in terms of interests? Say, look, at this particular time, well, I'm with this political affiliation, but I take off my, political jacket and wear the government jacket. How do you do that?
Well, a civil servant is always a civil servant. They have a particular mandate to fulfill, and theirs is to implement the government policies. Mm-hmm. The politicians are there for policy making. The civil servant, because the moment you are appointed permanent secretary or whatever, you cease to become a political player, a political cadre. Mm-hmm. You're a civil servant, you're a servant of the people. The politician will just give you a policy direction, and you come up with programs to implement those policy directions. And not to be seen to be working towards a political party. You work for the people. You work for the government. Mm. And through the government, you are working for the people, not the political party. We have to depart from what was happening. We have to depart. We saw, these PSs, doing things that a politician does. Campaigning, in the sense, campaigning for the party. A PS should not do that. That's not their place. If you can be a political whatever, you could have been a political, but the moment you're appointed as permanent secretary, you cease to be a political cadre. Because, mind you, we can't part away from what is happening, what has been happening since 1991. Unfortunately. Okay, I know that people have said, the president was saying he was going to make sure that the civil service is professionalized and so on and so forth. And that, of course, for me, I would have loved to see those people in the lower ranks to be elevated, like directors in ministries. I know a few have been, elevated. But every minister has got these ranks. There's permanent secretary there, and you have several directors below the permanent secretary. So my expectation was that, those that merit to be permanent secretary from those ranks, directors' ranks, could have been considered for this. But as it is, you see, there is a mixture. Yeah? Mm. The president had to find suitable candidates everywhere. And in any case, they are all Zambians. They are all Zambians, and as long as they have what it takes, the minimum requirement for them to perform, to me it doesn't matter. But we have to be alive to the fact that there are officers below permanent secretary who may be aspiring to become permanent secretary one day. There are those aspirations.
All right.
But yeah.
Again, I refer to the experience that you have, in the civil service. Is it possible to have a perfect civil service?
I don't know what perfection you are looking for. What do you mean by?
Well,
being perfect?
We've had people saying that the quality in terms of efficiency, from the part of the civil service, leaves much to be desired. People aspire for a better civil service in terms of efficiency, and it's almost like they want the perfect civil service? Is it possible in that regard?
Of course, I'm not too sure what perfection we are talking about. But to be honest, I think it is my belief that the people that have been put there meet the minimum expectations.
Right.
They qualify to be there. Like I was saying, they have what it takes to be there. That is my belief. You cannot just pick someone who you know very well has nothing to offer, and you put them there. It doesn't augur well. So my expectation is that the people that have been selected to take up these positions have what it takes, the minimum of what it takes to be in those positions, and that the Zambians are not going to be disappointed.
All right.
Yeah, this is my expectation. But if there are people that actually just, they'll be there just having a cup of tea and nothing to deliver, then they will let us down. They will let the president down. And those people should not even stay long here. We want people who get in there and start running, not to start, looking at, what is it that I can get from here? No. We want people who are going to deliver on the mandate of those ministries that they are running.
All right. I want to thank you very much for your time. We shall be crossing over to our colleagues, who at State House. Of course, I think in about 10 minutes' time we'll be able to get to State House. But again, the issue of, how do we ensure that we have got, stronger systems, in the civil service? Because again, some people say, look, the systems in the civil service have broken down. How do we mend the systems going forward for us to be able to realize the potential and the expectations that fall on the civil service?
No, I'm not too sure what you mean by systems, whether it's the financial systems or management systems.
Management systems, in this regard.
I don't know. I haven't been in the...
Because and this is coming against the again, allegations, that, look, there were so many cadres in the civil service. As a result, the systems were broken down. Tenders were not, being followed. The procedures were not followed. People were getting tenders because of connections at the expense of following the laid-down procedure.
Well, I think these are some of the issues that need to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
Because really, the civil service that I know was not like that.
What were you doing right in the past? Maybe that's what must be bringing to the fore. What were you doing? What has been done in the past? That made your civil service arguably look more efficient and perhaps better than the current civil service.
Well, first and foremost, I think people did not have this appetite for personal gain in any position that they held. We were so contented with the salary that we were given and occasional allowances, that sort of thing. But then we came into a place where we had civil servants who wanted, like you are describing the issue of a pen, it costs whatever amount, took watch, and then they inflate. This never happened. This never happened.
Where did we miss it? At what point did we get? At what point did we get to this route?
This insatiable appetite for quick money. I think this is the culture that has engulfed the system. You want to make quick money without working for it, and you have characters. They connive with suppliers of these things. No, please. I want for me to give you this contract to supply this. Can I have this on top of it? So the supplier will not give you money outside this whole thing. They will add a certain element
for them to walk away with a comfortable profit.
Oh, exactly. You don't forgo your profit on account of giving some chap. Whatever. Oh, sorry.
You're excused.
So, No business person forgoes their profit margin just to appease someone to give them a contract or something.
Yeah.
So they will just put it. Goes even on these big projects. It goes as a person who wants to, or a person stakes themselves to do a road project, for example, and then some chap says, for us to give you this tender, you have to give us a certain percentage. That businessman will not dip into his profit margin. He will add that element. That's why the projects are very expensive.
Yeah.
We are told in Zambia a kilometer of a third road is $1.5 million. In Botswana it's just about $300,000 or $500,000 per kilometer. There is sand in Botswana, but here, what sand do you have? It's only in Western Province, and it's a part. So really, why is it so expensive here? Someone somewhere, is asking for a cut, and that cut is not going to come from the businessman's profit margin. Never. It's added on to the cost of the project. That's what is going on. So this is such a puppet that to make money quickly is what is, because we didn't have it in our time.
So am I also right to infer that your love for the country was greater than this generation in terms of the love, because you seem to put advance country first at the expense of personal interest,
and that's what it was. That's what I don't know what happened. I don't know. It was really the love. If you look at the majority of the people that were even before me, they retired, it's misery. Huh? Okay, maybe that's another issue. They are leading miserable lives, impoverishment, because the pension system here is something else. So, and this generation, the new generation of public officers, they have seen what is happening to the old generation.
Oh.
The suffering they are going through. So they have vowed never to go that route.
So they sometimes they use bad ways of trying to avoid that, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the point.
So maybe again, while we're talking about having an efficient civil service, we must also be looking at the issue of the conditions of service for these civil servants.
You see, the issue of what is this program called where the government, the debt swap, the debt swap, where did it come from? That debt swap. The problem was the wage policy of government. That was where the problem was. Someone is paid really peanuts, and you've got a lot of expenses
to take care of.
You have children who go to school, you have got to pay rent, and they end up borrowing from these lending institutions. And they were entangled in a huge debt because the debt was salary based. You pay through your pay slip is deducted. The deduction was at source, but the government was not remitting it to the financial institutions. So that's where the problem. So the issue starts from the wage policy. What kind of salary do civil servants get? And are those salaries enough to meet the basic needs? That's where the challenge is. That's where the challenge. And I just wanted to remind you of what happened to UNIP people when they were removed in 1991. They became near destitute. And what happened was those who took over, the MMD people,
they learned. They
saw what was happening. They saw what was happening.
Yeah.
Those people, they grabbed their cars, they grabbed their houses, and so they became homeless and no car, no. So now the new team. No, we are not going to go that road.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I'm afraid we have to pause now because we have to go to the next programming. All right, as we await the swearing-in ceremony that will be coming to the fore from State House. I want to thank you very much for coming through, and we will continue to call upon you should need arise, as we hope to pick your brains on a number of national issues. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed for having me.
All right,
it's been a pleasure.
Well, our crew is still on standby at State House to give us more information with regards to the letters coming from that end, and we'll be crossing over to them in a bit. Cheshe Marungela will be leading the crew there. She'll be coming to us live in picture in a while. As we await for that to happen, we take you to the next.
Mr. Sakwiwa Musiwa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development. Mr. Frederick Mwalusaka, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport and Logistics. Ms. Daphne Pauline Soko Chabu, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Mr. Joe Kalusa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation. Dr. George Magwende, Permanent Secretary, Administration, Ministry of Health. Mr. Kennedy Kalunga, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Media. Mr. Boniface Chavila Nalishiwa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Ms. Beatrice Kangwa Chileshe, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts. Mr. Paul Benjamin Tole, Permanent Secretary, Eastern Province. Mr. Augustine Mulumbi Kasongo, Permanent Secretary, Copperbelt Province. Mr. Henry Mukungule, Permanent Secretary, Muchinga Province. Kenel Grandson Wishikoti Katambi, retired, Permanent Secretary, Northwestern Province. Dr. Namani Monze, Permanent Secretary, Southern Province. And Mrs. Lynn Sianziva Havanji, Commissioner of Lands, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. May I therefore seek your permission, Mr. President, to start the proceedings of the day by first administering the oath papers to the High Court judge and thereafter the permanent secretaries and Commissioner of Lands. Thank you, Mr. President. I will now ask Mrs. Alice Mipunga Ntambo Sitali, High Court Judge, to step forward, and the High Court Registrar, Mr. Chisha, to be ready with the...
Now, therefore, I, in exercise of powers conferred upon me, that behalf by the Constitution, do by this present, constitute, and appoint the said Stari Tambo Punga Stari to be a judge of the High Court for Zambia and to head, to hold, and exercise the office, trust, employment of a judge of the said court with all jurisdiction, authority, powers, rights, privileges, emoluments, and advantages whatsoever to that office belonging or in any way incident to or concerning the same. And I do here command all and singular officers and subjects in the said republic and all others whom it may concern to take due notice thereof and to govern themselves accordingly. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and public seal of the Republic at Lusaka, this 25th day of November in the year 2021 by the President's command.
Very much, Registrar. I'll now ask the judge to take judicial oath as well as oath of allegiance. We'll start with the judicial oath.
Having been appointed Judge of the High Court, do swear that I will well and truly serve the Republic and the President of Zambia, that I shall not directly or indirectly reveal or transmit any such information or matter as shall be brought under my consideration, or shall be made known to me by reason of my office, except as may be required in the discharge of my duties as such, or with the authority of the President, and that I will do justice in accordance with the Constitution of Zambia as by law established, and in accordance with the laws of Zambia, without fear, favor, or ill will. So help me God.
Thank you. We'll proceed to administer the second oath, which is oath of allegiance.
I, Alex Mipongandambostali, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the President of the Republic of Zambia, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Zambia as by law established. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Office and oath of allegiance to the appointed permanent secretaries and the Commissioner of Lands as a group. May I ask that you all have the Bible in your right hand? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Joseph Ricky Akafumba.
Frederick.
George Kamusa. George Magwende. Kenneth Karunga.
Justin Mumbi Kasongo, Henry Mkungule,
Keno Ransom Elizabeth Katani Aya.
having been appointed Permanent Secretary, Commissioner of Lands, do swear that I will well and truly serve the Republic and President of Zambia, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the President and the Republic of Zambia, that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Zambia, as by law established, and that I will not directly or indirectly reveal or transmit any such information or matter as shall be brought under my consideration or shall be made known to me by reason of my office, except as may be required in the discharge of my duties as such or with the authority of the President. So help me God. Thank you very much. We'll proceed to take the second oath, which is oath of allegiance. Again, please repeat after me. I, Joseph Ricky Akafumba,
Green Body, Anna Chibulu Songolo, Yvonne Bulu,
Sapira Msiwa, Marusaka Frederick,
Daphne Pauline Sonko Chabu,
Joe Karusa, Dr. George Nabwende, Kennedy Halunga, One Pescariana Shiwa,
Beatrice Dividiandaku,
congratulations. Augustine Songo, Henry Nkungule, Bernard Branson Bishop Katambi, Dr. Amani Oze.
Do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the President of the Republic of Zambia, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Zambia, as by law established. So help me God. Thank you very much. I will now call upon the individual permanent secretaries and end with the Commissioner of Lands to come forward to sign both oath papers and hand them over to Mr. President for his endorsement. Again, we'll follow the order that we earlier established. Mr. Joseph Ricky Akafumba, Permanent Secretary Administration, Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. Green Mbozi, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Please, those that have already taken oath, you are free to take your seats. Dr. Anna Chibulu Songolo, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Ms. Yvonne Mpundu, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development.
Congratulations.
Mr. Sakwiba Musiwa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development.
Congratulations.
Mr. Frederick Mwalusaka, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport and Logistics.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mrs. Daphne Pauline Soko Chabu, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Congratulations.
Mr. Joe Kalusa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Dr. George Magwende, Permanent Secretary, Administration, Ministry of Health.
Congratulations.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy Kalunga, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Media.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Boniface Chabila Nalishiwa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mrs. Beatrice Chilufya Dako, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. Kangwa Chileshe, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul Benjamin Tole, Permanent Secretary, Eastern Province.
Right. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Augustine Mulumbi Kasongo, Permanent Secretary, Copperbelt Province.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Henry Mukungule, Permanent Secretary, Muchinga Province.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Colonel Grandson Wishikoti Katambi, Permanent Secretary, Northwestern Province.
Vice President. Thank you.
Dr. Namani Monze, Permanent Secretary, Southern Province.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And last but not the least, Mrs. Lynn Sianziba Habanji, Commissioner of Lands, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It is now my honor and privilege to invite you, Mr. President, to address the newly sworn-in Judge of the High Court, Permanent Secretaries, Commissioner of Lands, and the nation at large. Mr. President, sir.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. I wish to recognize colleagues that are here. I know the Vice President was earlier here, but she's gone to Parliament. But the ministers that may be here, and also Secretary of Cabinet acting, and the Deputy Permanent Secretaries that are here. I want to recognize members of the UPND, colleagues, alliance partners, also senior government officials. I also wish to recognize families of the colleagues that have been sworn in today. I'm grateful that you are here to support your family members, our family members. As a country, we're one family. We must always remember that we are one family, Attempts were made to separate us, but you will see that the way the appointments are being made is to recognize that we are one family, and we must live as such, rather than just pronouncing that by word of mouth. I wish to recognize also members of the press that are here, of course, State House team. For the media, we appreciate the role that you play as a fourth estate in our country. You help us distribute information data to our citizens, the ones who put us in these offices. Please, we must always remember that we're here courtesy of the people of Zambia and no one else. So I wish to welcome you all to this your State House once more, and I wish to congratulate all the respective appointees that have been sworn in today. My omission, I didn't see the Acting Chief Justice, Mr. Msonda, who is amidst us. Thank you for being here. I understand Justice Salasin is here also. Thank you for being present here today. I wish to continue to congratulate all of you who have been sworn in today following your appointments earlier in the week, the other week I must say, and you weren't able to make it to the swearing in last week, I think it was last week, but at some point I thought maybe you have declined to take the offers. But it's good to see you here. Right. Today's swearing in amongst ourselves. There's permanent secretaries, bigger group. There's a commission of lands. But there's also a member of the judiciary. Let me start by addressing the member of the judiciary, of the bench, the judge. I wish to repeat what I've said before, that justice in a decent country is of paramount importance. Justice to the people, not to ourselves, to the people, and all the people who should and are equal before the law. There is no two trains. Justice for the well-known, justice for the common we. I say we because I'm one of the commoners who came from the village, and we the commoners expect to be treated just like those who have had some privilege in life. So there are no two trains in the context of justice. It is simply justice to all, fairly. I'm sure you know why I'm saying that, because the citizens sometimes believe or see things that there's a duality in the dispensation of justice. Madam Judge, citizens are saying there's none. There's no duality. It's equitous treatment. I wish to underscore the importance of accountability in our conduct, in your conduct on a daily basis. The court to the people, but accountability, because we've seen a lot of loose ends in our institutions in our country. And we believe that your choice, the choice of you, at the time the colleagues before us nominated you, was based on understanding that you will be accountable in everything that you do. And today's swearing in demonstrates that government is a living thing. The decisions made by those before us shall and have been respected by us. So it connotes the importance of the people at all times, that us who come and go will make decisions for and on behalf of the people, because they made the decision to put us in office. I think that's the way it works. There are times citizens, common citizens, feel that once people are put on the bench, they are judges, then they are above the people. Then they are above the people. That can never be right. The people sit on top, and we are servants of them. I repeat this point because sometimes when we see adjournments, madam, made frivolously, one after another, no substance is discussed in court, but adjournments take a year, 2 years, 3 years. In my time in detention in Mukobeko, I found people who have been in that Mukobeko maximum prison for 5 years, and they've never seen a day in court. Never. Some have been there 6 years. Their matter has never been heard. It's just adjournment after another. It's not correct. For those of us who have slept in those conditions, no ventilation, no sanitation, no sleeping arrangements. Every day to us looked like 1 year when you stayed inside there. So please, let us dispense justice quickly. The English say, justice delayed is justice denied. I think I've said it on behalf of my fellow detainees and prisoners. As I'm speaking to you, I'm picturing some of them there, the stories they used to tell me. Let's help our people. A number of people out there are actually not guilty. As the law says, you are innocent until proven guilty. So let's have a sense of duty. I must say at this point, the people of Zambia have voted for change, and what I'm saying now is part of their expectations menu. That's part of what they expect, that the judiciary will begin to function in a way that recognizes the rights of citizens. I must have said earlier, I guess I'm right. You are the custodians of the law. The Constitution provides for the Bill of Rights. In there sits the right to be heard. When a citizen is aggrieved, they have a right to go to court, a competent court in our jurisdiction, and the court must hear them. The court shall hear them. It doesn't say the court may hear them. No, the court shall hear them. I don't like using my example. Many times I was never heard myself. So I expect my experiences to end with me. The rest of the citizens shall be heard by the courts. This message I'm not delivering to the judge in front of me alone. Acting Chief Justice, is to everybody on the bench. Please hear our people and dispense with their business in court. Then we can decongest the detention centers. We can decongest the police cells. Acting Chief Justice, I suggest that in the normal course of duty, I think judges, magistrates, once in a while, they must visit police cells. They must visit correctional facilities and see for themselves what's going on there. I hope you do it quickly, because very soon we are cleaning up those places anyway. So you may not see what I wish you to see. Go there before we get there ourselves. Then you will understand what I'm talking about. Madam, we wish you the best on the bench. We wish you the very best. We believe that you will act accordingly. Permanent secretaries, shall I include the Commissioner of Lands? Permanent secretaries, we have congratulated you already. Last week, I delivered quite a strong message here. The way I do things is polite, but fair. I say to people, don't be deceived by my humble looks. I've said it over and over in many years. Do not be deceived by my humble looks. That's how we villagers are. But we should not continue doing wrong things with regard to public resources, management of public affairs. We should not continue doing the wrong things that have gone on for the last 10 years. What is wrong became the norm. I'm talking about expenditure control. As we sit here, two things are standing in the way of economic recovery, if I may say so. Let me rephrase this way. Two things stand in the way of the citizens' agenda to reconstruct the economy. Two things, broadly. There are many things, don't misunderstand me. But two critical things. One is a debt mountain, choking resources of citizens, taking away meal allowances from students, debt service. The second thing relates to us, to you, public expenditure, runaway public expenditure. Your controlling officers, you are buying things 10 times the price. I'm repeating what I said last week because you were not here. Maybe you didn't hear it properly. We are dealing with a debt mountain. This morning, just this morning, I had a meeting with our debt advisors, Lazard. Our 1 hour or less than 1 hour's conversation revealed things that even if you have a stone heart, you say this is not right. You as permanent secretaries, those before you, were paying for services never received and intended not to be received, but you paid. You've put your signature there. Your colleagues put a signature to pay, to effect payment for goods and services that were never received and intended never to be received. You're talking about millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And as we move to recover those assets, people are making noise and calling it a different name. What you do in a situation like that is to recover that money. But Zambians are saying, HH is talking too much. We want the money recovered. Indeed. Indeed. No question about it. Make no mistake about it. But we are doing it the right way. That's why even this morning's meeting was necessary, to compare notes. But that was never going to be necessary if the permanent secretaries did not pay for things that were never delivered. Then tomorrow, you want to do the same. You want to do the same, and you expect your colleagues to be quiet about it. If we are quiet, some people are quiet, I am not one of them. And I know there are millions of Zambians who will be watching. You don't need this lecture from me. It must be inherent in you. That's why you have accepted this role. I know some of you aspire to do what those who were there 10 years were doing. It won't happen. You do it once, twice, decision is yours. I'm not supposed to talk like this. I'm supposed to be singing with you, celebrating with you. But walk in those ministries. From tomorrow, go in those ministries. Just start looking at a buying pattern, purchase of items. Look at a pattern yourself, quietly. Ask for the files. Let's see the buying unit. What are you buying? Ask for the file. Then start looking on your own. You will feel very bad. You will nauseate. Can we work together to change that culture? Please. I cannot be the preacher man alone. The people who elected us to make this very change I'm talking about. Every month in fuel, we are losing $26 million. Every month. Every single month. Work out 10 years back. How much money have we lost? You are the ones to stop that bleeding. There's no one else. Don't look this way or that way or behind. It is you. We working as a team. To that end, last week I asked the this acting secretary of the cabinet to organize a workshop of permanent secretaries and ministers. He has just advised me there will be no allowances paid because we'll be on duty. We'll be on duty. That's what was going on. There's a workshop at Mulungushi and schedule of allowances come. But we are working. Work that by the number of people who got the allowances by 10-year window. How much money would have gone out? This country is rich. So next week, we have a date. And we'll do it together with the ministers so that you and the ministers work as a team. Then from there, you should have a meeting with your own directors, procurement units. Then, as I said to the judge, you will be proudly saying to the people of Zambia, we are working for you. The money we have taken to CDF from 1.6 million to 25.7 million, we got it by mopping it away from centers of theft. Just looked at the centers of theft, we said this one will receive no money. It's a center of theft, thieving, this one will receive more money. We plug this one, then we moved, surprise, surprise, there was 25.7 million. Even those who were in government 4 months ago are surprised that we were able to raise $25.7 million. We haven't even started managing the economy the way we want. Commissioner of Lands, there, I have a story to tell you. There, where people's plots are taken away by thugs called cadres. Luckily, we have nipped them in the bud. You sit on the farm, people are subdividing your farm. You are sitting in this corner, in that corner they're subdividing your farm. What is that? They redefine the location. That is a different location, the same property. And they are cutting. Land belongs to Zambians. But it's available for investment from anybody, but through the Zambians first. I hope we're together. 2, 3 title deeds on one property. How? Are we creating work which is unnecessary for us? You should automate that place. Dr. Magwende, last week I was talking to your partner, your fellow PS there. You're a medical doctor. Why would you buy expired drugs? Why would you buy expired drugs? Why? That's enough for me to say to you. Why? And at a higher price. So you're killing patients. Dr. Songol, why should we have foot and mouth disease? I'm just fresh from Congo, where the Congolese president and his team has agreed to buy literally everything we want to sell to them. That's my job. I'm a salesman for this country. But we are not able to supply them with the beef because FMD. Private sector can't bring FMD vaccine. Only government can bring it. Government has no money. Where is the common sense there? If the money is there, the owners of the animals are prepared to pay, allow them to pay for the vaccine. Can you clear those issues? Mount Makulu? What is Bamoro? We want Bamoro. Tell this government, your government, what you want for Bamoro to produce the vaccines. I was in Botswana last week. We agreed with the President Masisi. That's my job. Soon you should get used as citizens. We agreed that the 4 countries will have a joint project to control diseases. Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia. So far, out of these 4, the only country behaving properly, doing what is necessary, is Botswana, seconded by Namibia. What about us? I was so ashamed there. You know, I walk with my head high and with confidence. When that subject came, I raised guilt. Someone who is normal must feel guilt. Can you take away the shame from us and save our livestock sector? And we can export beef to Congo DR. Lubumbashi alone, Katanga alone has 22 million people. There's a market. But do what you need to do. I said to President Masisi, why are you buying stock feed from Australia? You can buy stock feed from us. I said, hey, H, bring it. PS Agriculture. There is a market for you. Yesterday I was fighting for the 600,000 tons of meal, which Congo, we could not take. Congo gave to South Africa. So I said I want my order. Says, oh, Mr. President, but you open the border for exports, then you shut it. But eating is every day in Congo. Maybe you in Zambia, you eat once in 2 months. I'm serious. So I'll find you the market. I promised Zambia Association of Manufacturers 2 weeks ago. I said I'm going to get you a market. Yesterday I got them a market. But the customer is saying, you open the border to export, you close it. We eat every day. You can never be in such an excellent position. In business, what is difficult is to find a market. Once you found a market, you can work backwards into production machine. Please, can we stop imports? But to do that, we must secure food security. We can't secure food security when you are buying fertilizer at a high price. And I want to be understood correctly today. When the contracts for fertilizer were given, at the time last year or the year before, the market was buying fertilizers $400 per ton. But you guys in the ministry were buying it at $1,000 plus per ton. That's what I meant. Today, the fertilizer prices have gone up. It's a different number. While I was aware, I was being quoted that I was not saying things the way they are. It is true. The market now has gone up. India has come straight into the market big time. COVID has slowed production. So the price of fertilizer have gone up. So journalists, don't confuse the subject. The subject is now that the world prices have gone up. And you can tap into your internet, you'll find the prices. You don't have to ask me, you'll find the prices. But at the time the orders were placed, that was the price. I see a lot of stories are being battered all over here and there. Let's have a bit of investigative abilities. So, Mr. Green, we want proper green maize there, which is well fertilized, so we can export into Congo. Luckily, the PS Lands is here. Madam, work with the commissioner. I want to close my case. I have made a case today, like I have done before. Let us work as a team. Let us help this beautiful country, this rich country. I'm embarrassed myself that our people live in poverty in such a rich country. I must say to you, what keeps me going, Wakafumba, is a realization that we can make this country better. It has to work properly. We need to work together to deliver value for our people. We can do it. We should do it. God bless you all. Thank you so much. And to the family members, thank you for agreeing, accepting for these colleagues to save the people of Zambia. I can tell you from my own experience, if my wife was not supportive, it wasn't possible to stand here and swear in people. But she was there. So thank you to the family members. Keep supporting these colleagues of yours, ours. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This marks the end of the swearing-in ceremony for today, but we shall close with a national anthem, and thereafter, Mr. President may have a photo session with the just sworn-in government officials. Thank you. National anthem, please.
Dancing of Zambia, proud and free, a land of work and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for their right. We won freedom's fight. Oh, one strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hands. Let us all her people join as one, brothers land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace neath Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one strong and free. Praise be to God.
Praise be.
Bless our great nation.
Zambia, Zambia,
free men we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one strong and free.
No, it's okay, we're done. We're done. We're done.
Great.
It's
oh, great. Okay. Great. Go ahead.
Heavenly Father, seeing all what you have done, you have made the ceremony a success. We give you thanks. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
He did say that the debt mountain that the country has is quite high and he would like to see this reduced. He did speak about interactions with debt advisors who did also just give an insight to where Zambia stands in as far as debt is concerned. He also did speak about public expenditure, runaway public expenditure that is, and that expenditure that is not accounted for, citing that the country was losing about $26 million a month in expenditure that has not been accounted for. A lot of issues coming out when it comes to prudent public resource management, and the onus is on these individuals to actually ensure that it is managed prudently. Also, the president has highlighted that there will be a workshop for ministers and permanent secretaries to give a refresher of what is expected of them as they take up these positions. And this is in line with the president's call to see that service to the people is heightened and is of quality and is not compromised by lack of knowledge. So this workshop will be conducted for the ministers and permanent secretaries. He did also say that the information that will be shared during this workshop should be passed on to the directors and all officers in the ministries to allow for teamwork and ensure that everyone has the same direction, the same focus of what these ministries must do to serve the general public. He also did speak about land and issues around land grabbing, subdivision of land that belongs to Zambians, and he has said land belongs to Zambians and that Zambians must be able to access land and be able to own land. And he does want to see Lynn Habanji, who is taking up the position, to actually see that there is fairness, there is lack of corruption in the Ministry of Lands, and it is a task that has been given to her and she was spoken to directly. Also, the issue of the health sector, the president did come back to that issue, saying that he wants to see the correct procedures, facilities, as well as services being given in the health sector. He does not want the story of the expired drugs that has characterized most media platforms, but would like to see sound health services for the people, and just for them, people all across the country, to access these quality health services. So as these men and women take up these positions, it is of great importance to reflect on the message that has been given by the President, Hakainde Hichilema, to ensure that they do serve the general public to the satisfaction of their needs and some of the burning issues that their